Good morning, beautiful people. So, if you've clicked on this video today, I'd imagine you're quite intrigued to find out how I went from this guy to this guy. Yeah, I'll talk you through my journey, maybe get some inspiration from it, maybe pull a couple of tips, tricks and hacks from it as well. It's not been an easy journey. It started a few years ago, and yeah, if you're new to my channel, please subscribe, give us a thumbs up, and let's get after it. So, fat to fit, or from big guy to where I currently am now, obviously running an adventure outdoor activity channel. I've had to get my fitness in order, and sort of it's been a journey in itself to where I am now. Rewind the clock 3 years to the date today. Nasty little injury, sent me home from work, slipped a disc in my back, wasn't doing too good. Ended up getting stuck at home for a little under a year, trying to get myself sorted. Severe sciatica down the leg, severe pain, and it was a lot of rehab and getting myself sorted out. At the time of the injury, I was weighing in just around 120 kilograms, or yeah, in poundage that's probably pushing close to 260, 270 pounds. I was a big guy, and the mentality always was, you know, going into the gym, and if it wasn't tied down, yeah, let's lift it. It wasn't doing myself any favours, so it resulted in quite a nasty injury, and yeah, ended up seeing myself off, getting stuck at home, obviously trying to provide for family, young family started, all the rest of it. It wasn't good, so in that year, trying to get myself sorted out, rehab and physio and all the rest of it, I made the decision that I had to kind of turn things around, and I was kind of getting a bit fed up with just doing the same routine in the gym and same, you know, old school style of lifting weights and not a lot of cardio. So I was a big guy, still relatively fit, you know, in layman's terms, had the body of a Volvo, but the engine was, you know, it could do with a bit of work. That injury through 2021, getting myself sorted out and all the rest of it, I started looking a little bit further deeper into the kind of running aspect. Through my military years, 15 years in the army, I was never a big runner. I could always go the distance with the weight on my back, but I was never a big runner. So I started looking into the actual running side of it, and I was intrigued and interested more specifically in the ultra marathon kind of space. So I started looking at a couple of videos and following different people like David Goggins. You know, his journey in itself has been quite inspirational, and how the many achievements he's achieved over the years. Three hell weeks in the space of 1 year, you know, to achieve his goals of becoming a Navy SEAL, and then his ultra running journey as well, and all his different feats and challenges that he's achieved. He's battled obesity and mental health issues, and he goes on a lot about in his books, you know, how he uses these fitness events and extreme challenges to really bring the best out of himself and challenge the mind. And it's about being strong, and further developing the human mind and how far you can actually go. If we rewind, I'll take you back to so post injury. I started running like 5Ks, 10Ks at the max, you know, and it wasn't pretty. You know, you're talking like maybe an hour for a 10K. My 5K time was like 28 minutes, and I thought, yeah, I'm crushing it, I'm quick. But it wasn't the case. So the first step was to try and start getting the weight off, which is a slow process. I started taking the weight off, looking at my diet, looking at my nutrition. My mobility and agility was non-existent. I was pretty rigid. So this was all things that I had to start kind of working on. So yeah, I had to sort the diet out. That was first and foremost. Having been diagnosed with celiac disease way back in 2015, that was quite a monumental change in my life, as it was having to adapt to a whole new style of eating and having to find out what was on all the foods and stuff. I really had to sort my gut out. So yeah, that in itself was a journey. So sorting my nutrition out, and then really starting to pay attention to mobility and my agility exercises to try and stretch my body out. But yeah, I don't do half measures, so rewind back to March 2022. I just got myself back out to work. I had committed to trying this new journey, getting back into running with a scope to doing some ultras. So bear in mind, by this time, the furthest I'd ran was a 10k. I'd done a couple of 5ks. So I goes home, I goes on leave, and I decide, yeah, you know, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. You know, I'll just go out, I'll have an attempt at it. They say the baseline for an ultra marathon is 50k, but technically anything over a marathon, anything over the 26.2 miles is technically classed as an ultra marathon. But the kind of gold standard as your the very bottom level would be a 50k, so 30 miles. So yeah, in true like my fashion myself, I puts on my pack, I heads out into the countryside in Scotland, and I go 25k's in one direction and then go to a turnaround point, 25k's back. It was disastrous, it wasn't pretty. I had very little leg strength, I had done very little running up to this point, but I just wanted to see if I could do it. So I knew I would complete it, I just didn't know how well it would go. And yeah, I got to the 42 kilometre mark, which is marathon distance, and my body was feeling it. My legs were like, you know, pretty creamed in, my hips, everything just started to ache and hurt. If you look at the stats, there's my stats above now. You know, it wasn't pretty. I finished it in like just under 7 hours. There wasn't a lot of elevation in it, maybe 1,500 feet of elevation, which is it's not a lot. It was a flat track, flat paths, old disused railway line. You know, I just went for it out one way, back the next. But it's kind of set the standard. It let me know where I was at, what I had to improve on. By this time I had maybe dropped myself down. I think I was around about the 110 kilogram mark. So still a heavy guy. At 6'2", you know, I carry it well, but I was still a big guy. Moving on then, now that I got the first one out of the way, I knew what I had to improve on, and that came down to a lot of conditioning, getting further weight off, improved massively on my mobility, and yeah, continued with that up for another 8 months. I'd already signed up and committed to my first official ultra marathon, which was the Glen Ogle 50k in Scotland, which was running from Killin in Scotland down to a turnaround point and then back up again. So I think it was around about 4,000 feet of elevation in that one, all tracks, off-road trails and stuff like that. So I'd committed to it, and I had about 6 months build up to get myself sorted out for my first official ultra. So yeah, successful build up. I worked on my mobility, all my agility, started a lot of strength and conditioning for the lower half of my body, building up my legs, a lot of bike work, really building up that thigh endurance, getting the glutes all sorted out, the quads, the hamstrings, and yeah, I felt really good going into it. The date was set, it was the 5th of November 2022, and I hit it hard, and I went for it. Did feel quite strong on it. You know, if you look at the times, I'll put them up now. 6 hours 20, it wasn't a bad time for the elevation that was involved, and I really enjoyed it. The atmospherics of the race, the organisers, the event was really well run by Run Your Rocket Events in Scotland, and yeah, absolutely loved it, and it just gave me that little bit more boost that it was a journey I wanted to continue on. So fast forward now, that was there in September. I've just completed our first 50 miler, which was the Oco 50 miler, 82 kilometres, and that was Perth back down to Stirling over the Oco Hills in the central belt of Scotland. And yeah, there was about 7,500 feet of elevation in that one, all single track, sheep trails, absolutely fantastic race, and yeah, I struggled with this one purely just on the basis that I didn't get the terrain to train on the 3 weeks build up that I had planned, due to rolling my ankle slightly and having a little bit of a niggle and an injury. But yeah, I know what to improve on, I know where I have to go for the future races, but having done these first couple of ultras and got them under my belt, I'm feeling confident now that it's a journey that I'm going to continue on. So as per the start of the video, to go from this guy to this guy now. Currently weighing in at around 95 kilograms. I'm at a comfortable weight. I've put a little bit more muscle onto my legs. I've taken some body fat off, which is more important for me, and I've continued with the strength and building in the upper body, doing more high reps, lightweight type stuff. What's really worked for me over the last 18 months was adopting the MAF training principle. So the maximum aerobic function training, or zone 2, it's more commonly known as. MAF's been around for years, and more athletes are starting to adopt it. And the short of it is, the principle is run slower to get faster. So getting out on these big, long, slow runs, keeping that heart rate nice and low in zone 2. So for myself, it's really started to pay off. I'll put a couple of stats up on the screen now just so you can see a bit of the variation. But basically, when I first started out, I was getting a little bit annoyed with myself because trying to stay in that zone 2 on 10, 15, 20 Ks, I was having to break into a walk quite a lot just to keep my heart rate down. Now over time, I'm starting to see the rewards of it. So for instance, a year ago, a 10k would have taken me maybe an hour and 5 minutes to keep my heart rate in that zone 2. Now I'm running just over 50 minutes. So over time the heart rate's coming down, but the speed is going up, if you know what I mean. So it's really started to pay off with the zone 2 training. And again, something I've really started paying attention to is adopting that zone 2 on the bike as well, because you can really get in the zone, power out the legs with the wattage, and then really test yourself with the zone 2 principle. So the MAF training, definitely worth looking into. If the running journey is something you're going to be looking into, definitely worth looking into the MAF training principle, zone 2 training. Finding the happy balance of that then is a balance of the strength, mobility and endurance training. So building on that on a weekly basis, building up the weekly mileage either on running or on the bike just to boost the thighs. And then diet and nutrition on top of that as well. I'm massive on the diet and nutrition now. I didn't used to pay much attention to it as much as I should now. A lot more supplementation. Now that I'm 41 years old, I ain't no spring chicken, but definitely something that I look into a little bit more in depth. Supplementing things like my creatines and post-recovery type stuff. A lot more fruit and veg in my diet and stuff like that. Onto the ultra scene then, obviously with a view to hopefully 2024 going to conquer my first 100 miler. And please do drop in the comments below and what one you would think I'm more suited to. I'm going to let the viewers decide on this one as to what I should be aiming for next year. We've got a couple of choices. We've got the big one down south, which is Snowdonia down in Wales in the UK, which is just over 100 miles. It's got a cut-off time of like 42 hours. There's 18,000 feet of elevation in this one, so you know I'm thinking that it might be quite a high bar to meet. The other option for me is the West Highland Way up in Scotland, so 96 miles, 10,000 feet of elevation or thereabouts, from Mulgai, central Glasgow, all the way up to Fort William, up and over Glencoe. So I've got a couple of different options for the 100 milers next year, and then I'm looking at a couple of different 50 mile options as well, just to keep that endurance going, that mind muscle connection. The more distance I can do on the ultra scene, the better it's going to suit me in the years to come. Yeah, so that's where I'm at, aiming towards next year. So yeah, with a view to the future then, what I'd really like to get under my belt would be the Cape Wrath Ultra. That's the big one in the UK, so the big one up in Scotland, that's Fort William all the way up to Cape Wrath, up the west coast of Scotland. 400 kilometres, it's a multi-stage day race, so you're averaging 50 k's a day for the 8 days you're on the ultra. So I'd really like to have a good go at that over the next couple of years, and yeah, just see how my journey continues and how the progress continues to grow. And then another one I'd really like to get under my belt is MDS, so the Marathon des Sables out in the African desert is a nice goal to be aimed at. It's not too cheap. You're probably talking about €4,000 to go and compete in that one, but that gives you full support. You're self-sufficient for the race itself, but everything else is kind of catered for. That would be a nice one to get under my belt as well. So yeah, hopefully the journey will continue. It's just small steps, but yeah, just taking each gain as it comes, and we'll see where we're at. What goes hand in hand with the ultra scene is the support network. You need a good support network. You need your friends and family on side, especially if you're going to be taking commitment to these big fitness journeys. It's not easy, especially coming from a background where I was a big guy and struggling to get this weight off initially, and not seeing major gains in the start with my running journey, my times, my distances. It's coming, and it takes time. You've just got to have the commitment, the drive, the passion, be committed to the cause, and just get your head down and do it. You will struggle, you will find hurdles along the way, as every journey in life offers. It's just about how you get into that pain cave, have a good chat with yourself, and then get yourself out of it. It's there for the taking. Hopefully this will give you a little bit of an insight and a little bit of inspiration to how my journeys went. But I did start off like this, like I said at the start of the video. This guy here, 120 kilograms, that's not pounds, that's kilograms. Got myself down to 96, and then over the time I've got faster, I've got fitter, I've got leaner, and it just opens up a whole new realm of doors for you to walk through. Hope you enjoyed the video, guys. I hope it gave you a little bit of inspiration, and again, if you do like my content, please do subscribe, give us a thumbs up. I'm trying to get this channel up and running, so your support would be greatly appreciated, and I'll catch you for the next one.